a daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play option. Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
Dan, it's Liberation Day.
Wow.
Happy Liberation Day.
Happy Liberation Day. It's even better than April Fool's Day.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I was just telling Dan, everybody, I have a bad habit of over trading, and yesterday I said I'm going to be a good boy. I'm going to put all my positions on, and I'm going to sit Wednesday out and just wait for the announcement. Oh, yeah. And one of my hedges I had going in on this down move already hit, so I had to take it off and then readjust the hedge. So yeah, it's a good problem to have, I guess. But
well, and as you mentioned, Troy, I mean, it's like if somebody's just in stocks, right? You don't have a lot of tools in your toolbox when you have events coming up here and high volatility, and that's the beauty of options. There's, endless things you can do, especially with the high volatility like this. Sell this option, buy this option, so it's a I'm sure it'll be active time in the options market. And again, yesterday continues the as people probably hope it never goes away, the 1% moves, right?
That's right.
Yesterday from, again, about 100-point range. I know today, right now, we're down a little over 1% or about 58 points in the futures. But boy, when you think for like putting on a speculative options trade, you just think at some point over the next 3 days, whatever direction you're picking, you might be right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the case.
Yeah. So it's, interesting.
Yeah. Well, today, go ahead, Dan.
No, I was going to say, what time is it? What time is the show today?
Well, it's 4:00, but he has a habit of like 5:15, 5:30 based on a 4 p.m. start time. So.
Oh, really? Okay, because he's golfing or something. Maybe.
I have a feeling he's just waiting. He's waiting for more tariffs. He wants more tariffs and giving his advisors time.
He wants to give the big, because everything, it's going to be huge, right?
Everybody's going to be huge.
It's going to be the best tariff increase I've ever seen.
Well, and that's why, I mean, today's the big day. He's ready. Like he's lived his whole life for this. And so he's crossing the Delaware. He's making his return, Yeah.
I'm trying to see which one I like the best out of these pictures. I might go with number 2, even though they're all priceless. I don't know. I don't know how you could choose between they are all phenomenal. And the look is always, whatever he does.
He only has one look, really.
Right. That's right. He only has one look.
Yeah. It's true.
Should be interesting today with the VIX up. And again, I think unlike an earnings event, right? We're used to, buy the rumor, sell the news. We're used to, with earnings, it doesn't matter. Price comes out up or down, vols are going to go down. Here, this is a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday ordeal, right?
Yeah.
Late in the day Wednesday, as far as the ramifications of all this. And so you would think at least, part of you thinks, I think there might be a more probability you could say, vols should come down. That's something like earnings. And we should have some movement. But again, when earnings comes out and it's done with, right?
Yeah.
Earnings are out. Here, it's like, tariffs, now what? It's like an earnings that doesn't end, right?
No,
and so it's could be more stuff.
Well, I mean, markets not going quietly in the night. I mean, I think they, I don't know. And it's fool's errand to say what the market's doing, what
Right.
it's thinking, but I'm really not surprised that they're taking it down pre-market. I was more surprised that they were taking it up yesterday. I would have thought that perhaps they maybe got to 5,600 in the SPX and kind of just set it down for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But, it's an auction and people get excited and people get buying and things like that. And so,
yeah, I think that's the second day of it. Yeah. I didn't think there'd be so much zealousness yesterday either on the upside.
yeah. And VIX, what's interesting to me, the other part that's kind of surprising today is, like you said, VIX is up, what is it up? 7% pre-market. And to me, that's the most surprise. I would have thought they would have held VIX a little bit low, or that it wouldn't rise that precipitously before an announcement. I would have thought that they would have done that this week already. Where they had it yesterday is kind of where they wanted it, but what do I know? What do I know?
Well, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't, with the being, the market's, the VIX doesn't surprise me in the sense that the market's been jumpy, right?
Yeah.
With all this. And so today it's like, especially with the movement to the downside here, but it's still, when you look at, even if it's, what does it say? VIX 23 maybe coming in, or 23 and a half. There's no panic in that yet, right? I mean,
no.
23 is not a panic. It's saying here there's some big event, but to get it up near 28 or 30 or some August 5th type numbers, we need a total catastrophe, right? We need something like,
I would like to think someone knows something and is buying 30-day outputs, and that's why the VIX is rising. That would be helpful to me, personally.
Right. For you. Oh, I know. You're right. It's like, you bring up an interesting thing, Troy. It's like when you have a position on that part of us psychologically, that if let's say somebody's long puts or does well on the downside, all they're thinking of, their thoughts today are, I'm really, you're trying to build a case, right? For catastrophe. Because you don't just want it down 50. You want a catastrophe. You want a symphony of catastrophe.
That's right.
So anybody who comes out on TV today, especially when you're short, that comes out and says something disastrous, you say, that guy's smart.
That guy knows what he's saying.
He knows what he's talking about. I hope
for sure.
He's right.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I've told a friend of mine, I was like, if the VIX goes, to 80, we're doing okay. And he said, he said you, because all of America is going to be in the Great Depression. And he said, you're a monster. And I said, well, I would feel bad.
I know. But you're getting your money. That's all that matters.
But we'll be okay.
We'll get your bag.
Be all right. Yeah. Also, VIX going to 80 doesn't mean really the world's. I mean, August the VIX went to 80, and I think we were okay. So
that's right. Troy, you're talking like the NBA players. The new lingo. I heard this. I tickled at this when they said he's, this guy played 3 years. He's worked hard. He's going to get his bag.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
You heard that?
Oh yeah.
Troy's. Yeah. If we go to 80, Troy's getting his bag.
Oh, that's right. No, that's exactly right. Well, so today, who knows what's going to happen? I would not. I honestly, I would not be shocked if at 4 p.m. we're at unchanged for the day. I would not be shocked if we're down 100 for the day. Like nothing's going to shock me pre-market.
Off the table. Yeah.
I think everything's jumpy. So, but on a day where you want to move, I am not advocating trading this trade we're about to look at. This is simply a segue I'm using for rhetorical purposes.
Sure.
On a day you want to move, have you considered the McRib?
That's right.
So we continue our journey of the McRib. And Dan, yesterday, I'm going to share my screen. Yesterday, we handed this baby out, and people said, "Why did you give this to us?
Why did you give us this?
I don't want this." And I understand that. We had put up a filter that basically said, remove any trades where we open up 1.5%.
Yeah.
150 basis points up. Today, we're going to improve this test greatly. And what we're going to do is make one more change. And so, Dan, what we've done is, in addition to all the other things we've put on it, we're now only going to trade this when there's an overnight move down of anything in VIX. So we want VIX to open down, basically, is what we're saying in this trade. And there's a couple things that happen when you do that. So I'm going to go back and forth here for a second. You look at yesterday's trade. We are trading this 700 times. Okay. Mm-hmm. With that new filter, that VIX overnight filter that we've put into this, we're now trading 289 times. We've cut it in over half. And so what this test shows is that we've removed a lot of the cruff, a lot of the days that were just ho-hum. And we have figured out from the testing what days were actually working in this type of environment. So Dan, why would you place a trade like this that needs to move a 50 delta long call and put, and then the wings 50 points out? Why would you want to put that on a day when the market theoretically should be calm because VIX is down?
Yeah, well, I mean, for this type of trade, which is a long Vega trade, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting a little better entry price when the market, when the vols go down, and that's a positive, right? So you're getting a decent entry price, and then you're set up for a move. But one of the things you said was, when you think about this type of a trade, this is a negative theta trade. This is basically like a RIC, a reverse iron condor. Your longs are closer, right? So you have a bigger sea of death in the McRib than the RIC, but you don't need as far of a move, right? And when you have a negative theta trade, you want less occurrences. You want to be more picky, right? It's like if you have gout, right? This is my bad analogies for the morning. I've heard this. I don't know why this came into my mind, Troy, but if you have gout, you have to eat certain types of foods. Otherwise, there could be problems. And I think last week when we talked about the iron butterfly, the 1 day, right? Isn't it scary? It's 65. I'm thinking, Troy, what did we talk about 3 days ago?
Oh, I know.
The iron butterfly. If it's positive theta, playing every day or most days is good. But here, to knock out the occurrences, be a little more finicky is good on a negative theta trade, because it's not going to work if you're doing a negative theta trade every day, right? Yeah. It's not in the cards.
Yeah.
So really it is. I mean, the main thing with, you're just saying, hey, I'm only going to enter this on days where the market's up, right? When the vol is down. Whereas if you did it the other way, where the market's down and the vol's up, you could be paying more. And then if it flips back up, you could be losing on volatility.
That's exactly right.
Some thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. And you look at it, the last time it ran year to date was March 25th. And this is a perfect example of this is why this trade is the opposite of what you think of when you think of like option selling strategy, because you're not selling, you're buying.
Yeah.
Opening price 57.74, closing price 57.77. There's no way this trade is getting out of that. Like you are going to lose on that move. Now, and you look at the day before, you lost as well, less, because there's a little bit of movement. And remember, you only lose the max if it's just right in the middle of the tent, and
at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, that's right.
How many occurrences were on that one?
Year to date, 31 times.
Okay, so we really cut the.
Yeah, we cut it by half, and you could see just if we took that filter off, if we ran it year to date, you would have won more but this is why you can't trust 3 months of data. Like
True.
you can adjust. You might say, hey, in this environment, people see this all the time and they say, okay, year to date, that actually is a better strategy. So maybe I should run that one.
Yeah,
well, time is an ocean. I mean, you if you're out there at sea, there might be some waves that you could ride for a little bit, but
that's right.
You want a strategy that you're going to survive on. And
well, you can't always have 2000, for sellers of 2022 where VIX stayed up all the time.
Yep.
It's not always that way. Yeah.
It's not always that way. And so, you can take this, you can play with it. And certainly if you have, I know plenty of really smart traders who take their kind of base level strategies that have worked for 4 years, like that, like the previous one we just showed. And then they'll look year to date, what's working. And they'll say, okay, I'm going to make a modified version of this and I'm going to stop trading it and go back to the old way if I lose X number of percentage. Like they put caveats in place to say, I'm going to trade it until the market gets back to kind of normal,
Yeah. And I think it's important for people. I mean, what's great about the tool is that when you, like you said, okay, you run it for a year, for the year, it looks good. You run it for 3 years, maybe it doesn't. If you just park, run the filters where you can get your losing trades, right? Where you can get all the losing trades on, on the Omega. And then when you look at them, study it, right? I mean, it's not that difficult. When you think about if you're going to lose on trades, you say, well, why hasn't this trade won? Or why isn't this trade working? The wonderful thing is there's not 7 different places to look.
That's right.
It's price and volatility. And look at, okay, what's the price been doing? What's the volatility's been doing? And I think you could figure out and maybe get a little better, okay, in this environment, right? For the next, in this environment, we could be running into trouble, right? Yeah. It's like in Chicago, when you get into the February or bad snow, convertibles with a hole in the roof and no heat, they're going to run into a little bit of trouble. And so I think it isn't, you hear sometimes on some strategies, well, it's Trump's fault or it's this. Okay, let's get beyond that and look at the only 2 factors or 3 factors that affect every option strategy: price, vol. Look at the Greeks, right? And that takes a little more work, right? But you can look at it and say, okay, there's an answer for this. Or look at the skews. If you're doing a mixed month spread, look at the skews, the volatility, and the price. And I think you could get a good idea, and maybe you tweak the strategy. Like in the world of ricks and ribs, you can different placement of the longs and shorts, right? Could be sometimes could be helpful. But anyways, this is that was a good, when you think about negative theta, that's the first, that's a great move. It's just saying, hey, we can't play every day with a huge negative theta. And just by limiting the occurrences, you took the MAR, what would you say, try out of all the control panel there? How do you look at it in terms of from the previous one? What did we improve the most, would you say? What on the control panel versus yesterday? I know the MAR went up, the win percentage.
Yeah, everything went up dramatically. I mean, this went from being like a trade you wouldn't take to a 2.08 arguably MAR is since SPX dailies is a good trade. I mean, it all depends on the psychology of the trader. I mean, I'm sure there are better trades. There's a lot worse trades. And so for me, what I like to see, this is one of the big filters, is when you go from trading more and making less money to trading less and making more money, you're onto a good filter. Like I want to trade less and make more money than if I traded every day and just tread water.
Yeah. And that's right. What am I looking at? Like this says trades 289, winners 146. What was the one we just had up that only had like 38 winner, 38?
Oh, that was year to date. If you ran this year to date. So this is going back to 2022. That
The one that we just, oh yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
and
Okay.
this is if you started in January of this year.
I gotcha. So yeah, the one to 2022, that's pretty impressive. And all you did was just change you want to enter on a day where the market's generally up a little bit, so the vols will be down. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And we're going to make this trade better, friends. I mean, tomorrow we're going to add some stuff to it, another thing to it that improves it. And then by Friday, like I said this week, I mean, the fun thing about this is when you get into option selling is a no-brainer because of the power of theta, the power of all this stuff.
That's right.
And it's some of the main tools that you want to have in the bag, to the point of having a bag in the first place. But if you're going to have a full bag, the thing about backtesting, it shows these kind of tricky, like in a million years, you would trade one of these, you'd lose it, and you'd be like, well, that stinks. I'm not going to do this. But to have the data to say, no, if you actually stuck to that and you stuck to these filters, this can be a profitable trade. This is a tool that you can put in the bag.
Well, in the fun part, Troy, at least what I look at is say, folks, again, I don't want to keep referring to Mickey Rooney, even though I like Mickey Rooney, but there is no bad no bad strategy. I mean, what we've basically done is say, hey, the iron butterfly last week can work. Let's take the opposite of it.
That's exactly right.
You could do the same thing with everything: an iron condor, a reverse iron condor, a calendar, a reverse calendar. And it's just, I think it's a little, like Troy said, it's a little more difficult to get these negative theta trades. You like, whether it be a reverse iron condor or a McRib, you need to, because it's not positive theta, I think it's more work. Whereas the beautiful thing, I'll just say, for this will be a future show, but when you think about like a double calendar, right? What I like about the double calendar, just not meaning to switch strategies, but there you can get something why I think people get excited about it most of the time, or some kind of double strategy. You get more room, so it takes care of the price thing generally, right?
Yeah.
But it's positive theta, right? This thing, you're coming into it uncomfortable, right? Whether it be a reverse iron condor or a McRib here, you're coming in with a sense of stress, right? It's negative theta. You're like, you start, oh, please move. I beg you to move. Please don't sit there. Don't sit. Please move. Please move.
That's right.
You need movement. But again, when you look at it and you look at on this type of a strategy, the McRib, and you look at the expected move and stuff, it's not so bad, right? I mean, it's very doable, but you have to help it by cutting the occurrences. And this was the kind of a first step forward for that. So I'm excited about Thursday, and then the Super Bowl is the liberation for this strategy will be.
Oh, that's right. Liberation. That's right. That's right. Liberation Day for this strategy comes Friday.
Yeah.
I think that I'll probably need to cut it short, Dan. I've got some French champagne to buy. I've got some maple syrup.
That's right.
I need to go get.
Loaded for beer.
I've got a couple things that I need to get the cabin ready for. So,
well,
but everybody,
be rooting for Troy. He needs a bit of a disaster in the next couple days.
Listen, I'm sorry for your guys' loss.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll remember you in my kingdom. But if we, all right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you when the market's probably up 800 points.